Hello, my name's Tom Carhill. It's 15:39 on Sunday the 7th of May 2017. I'm actually struggling with this video because it could actually become very expansive, but I'm going to try and keep it brief, but it will link into other things, and it links into the video that I did last thing yesterday about Huddersfield University and their absolutely outrageous professor and advert saying that they're going to put on a university course about Madeleine McCann. It's absolute pseudo-scientific mumbo-jumbo nonsense. The guy's committed, kind of like, I don't mean he's killing himself, well, he's killing his actual life of credibility, friends, sociability and career. This guy's killed his life in signing up for this, just like that cunt Ryan Cox killed his life when he started talking a load of shit on the telly all the time, which he knows isn't true. And, you know, people like Hall Dawkins, apparently Dawkins is quite nice, by the way, people like that, so he actually maintains a bit of credibility because people know he's lying and they just know he's making money out of it. So I've actually been told he's actually quite a nice guy and he's quite nice, so hopefully that's the case of these people. But, you know, when you sell out and you're a complete traitor and you just spend your entire day lying to the actual lowest IQ people in the country, then, you know, you are scum. But anyway, that's what I was doing it about. And it was about how it was all about the Madeleine McCann case, and he was using all language like trolls and stuff. And this is advertising an actual academic university course in what he called an investigative psychologist or something. He's saying he is. It's absolute unintellectual nonsense. I was very angry. Somebody else had done a video about it, and I looked at it, and I looked, and I was even more angry than that guy. The place should be fucking burnt down. People should get strung up over this. It's absolutely outrageous. Anyway. Now, next to it, I saw another video, and this was a video. The shocking afterlife interview with Madeleine McCann for entertainment purposes only. Right now, what I was getting sidetracked with is this afterlife interview of Nicole Brown Simpson is another one that this channel's done, and the afterlife interview with Margaret Thatcher. Right now, I'm sure Margaret Thatcher or none of her family wouldn't care about the concept. I don't know what the content is, but the concept of an afterlife interview with her. Maybe they're actually saying that that's what they're doing, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, right, if you look here, what they're doing is you've got this people of doing this video, and they're saying it's about Madeleine McCann and an afterlife interview. So you've got people saying that anybody who says anything negative about these McCanns or doubts their story is basically a mentally ill, deranged, very sad person and a hater, you know, the kind of thing. You know, totally intellectual, you know, 2 and 2 equals racism, you know the kind of thing. And it's one of these type of situations you got here. With these people, they've stuck this video up, and I'm absolutely convinced the only reason they've stuck that video up is so that they can generate a concept that people who are like saying, you know, she wasn't abducted or she didn't die or anything like that. Well, obviously, I don't think the girl even existed, and I think the whole thing's just a completely made-up media event. But the fact that they're actually pretending to do these afterlife interviews is clearly just inflammatory, isn't it? And it is too close to the mark. And if you've got to bear in mind, most people in England think there was a little girl who's probably dead, or might be missing, or kidnapped, or whatever, or could have been trafficked and could be being abused right now. Then the fact that they're sticking up this video saying, you know, basically for entertainment purposes says it all. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And clearly, I would imagine that this channeling Eric, which I've never seen before, will be part of the counterintelligence operations. And the other thing that, as I said, what was getting me a bit sidetracked before, is if you look on the side, the afterlife interview with Nicole Brown Simpson, that's O.J. Simpson's wife, isn't it? And we all know, if anybody, well, we all know, anyone who's old enough to know, the O.J. Simpson case was the biggest bit of distraction news in American history, yeah? That was similar, about the same time in England, we had the biggest bit of distraction news before Madeleine McCann in British history that I'm aware of, which was the Stephen Lawrence case. I'm not sure about the Stephen Lawrence case, I haven't looked into it too much. It was definitely distraction news, but I don't know whether there was a man called Stephen Lawrence or not. But, I mean, how many people do you know who get stabbed and then their mum gets made a fucking baroness? If I get stabbed, my mum's not going to be made a baroness. What did his mum ever do? Absolutely fuck all. She just went on the telly and looked incredibly miserable. and that was part of her role, because she was so I can't really think of the word, Maudie. That's what the Northerners call it, isn't it? She looked so completely miserable that you just wanted to go and punch her in the head. And of course, every time a white person sees her on the TV, every single day, whinging and whinging and whinging and whinging and whinging constantly, which she was, they just sort of think, fucking hell, you know, we don't, you know, that was the only black person most English people would see, because apart from, you don't live in London at the time, there wasn't really many black people, so you'd see her every day. It would just completely put you off black people, of course it would. And, you know, you think, what the fuck is she going on about? I haven't killed anyone because I'm racist, and I don't know anyone else who would. And, of course, most people in England don't know anyone else who would, because it's just a completely made-up concept, someone would kill someone to be racist. It's just stupid. But it's complete race baiting, and that's just what's happening here with the Madeleine McCann thing. It's class baiting. So what they're doing is they're implying that these doctors have murdered a non-existent little girl, doesn't even exist, but then they're saying, oh, they got away with it because they're doctors. So then all the baying masses will all get very, very, very angry, and they will then want to basically punch the lights out of anyone who's a doctor. That's what it is. It's completely obvious what it is. And that was the same with the O.J. Simpson case. You know, you get people into big, massive arguments over the fact that whether he's innocent or not, and the conclusion was that if you were white, you just had to say he must be innocent, because otherwise you'd be racist. It's again, it's unintellectual nonsense, but it's beyond belief unintellectual nonsense. And I just can't believe that it really is a very small percentage of the population that can see that the whole thing is just completely made up. But this thing here, they're going to shocking new lows. Right, so I was annoyed yesterday, I was shocked about that. That university should be burnt down, with the professors dangling at the end of it. We should change the law, bring it in, any more of this nonsense. You know, what's the point of having a university? I tweeted to Trading Standards, I mean, can you call it a university when they're putting in pseudoscience courses like that? It's insane. It should be complete. It's beyond sedition. I don't really know what you call it, but of course, you know who's have legalised sedition, haven't they? Sedition's not a crime anymore, so you can do sedition because it's not a crime. Can you imagine it? If you said to people 100 years ago they were going to legalise sedition, if you suggested they legalise sedition, they'd say it was sedition, you'd be banged up, and then you probably wouldn't let you out until you said, oh yeah, actually sedition is an actual valid concept, never mind whether you're committing it or not. It's insane. But anyway, you should have a little look at this maybe. I haven't looked at this video, but just look at it so you can actually fully comprehend it. The Shocking Afterlife interview with Madeleine McCann, for entertainment purposes only. Now, if you go to that guy called Peter Hyatt, who Richard D. Hall had on, and he was talking about embedded confessions, wasn't he? Now, I know what those two lads' games is, yeah, I know what it is, and they know that I know, so they're going to wind their neck in soon, and they definitely won't respond to me, I can guarantee you that. But, notice here, for entertainment purposes only. Why that annoys me, right, because it's an embedded confession, yeah, that's what that Peter Hyatt, I think his name's Peter, said. It's an embedded confession, they're actually telling you what they're doing, but it's even worse than that, because as well as that, you know, they're doing it for sort of entertainment, and they're trying to make out people who are interested in the Madeleine McCann case are doing it because of entertainment, and unfortunately a lot of them it is pretty much entertainment. Nothing wrong with having some entertainment, you know, a little bit of having a bit of an interest in something, but the point is you've got this big massive problem with like conspiraloons and conspiratainment, and the more stupid the concept they come up with, or irrelevant, the more they like it. Like, is the world flat? Well, frankly, I've never really got how I've fallen off when I went to Australia, or why we don't get thrown off by centrifugal force. So I don't think we're spinning around the world, spinning around in space and all that stuff. But I mean, I don't know whether it's flat or not. I've got no fucking idea whatsoever. And I don't really have to trust in the scientific community to look up their science, so short of trying to work it out all on my own, which I'm not going to do, I don't know, so I'm not going to get into an argument about them. I don't know, and anyone who says, oh, of course we know, I just don't believe them, because they're just parroting. It's a bit like somebody saying something about that they just don't know about, just because somebody told them. It's, you know, it's unintellectual. So the truth is, I don't know. And people, or someone says that, like, on 9/11 they used fucking space beams. It's just like, did they? How do you know? Oh, because some Jewish disinformation agent called Judy Wood said so, who's a complete deranged freak. And she even said that she based her theory, or sorry, no, she didn't call it a theory, she said it's a fact, Richard D. Hall also said it's a fact, by the way, yeah, which is something which he'll, at one stage in his future, you know, people will be writing him off as a back on the back of that. That would be one of the main nails in his coffin, you know. I like Richard Hall, but yeah. Space lasers from outer space. If you don't believe in space lasers from outer space, it's just like making people believe what you believe, otherwise you'll get angry with them. You've got no fucking evidence whatsoever, and it's just the same. It's just complete irrelevance after irrelevance after irrelevance after irrelevance. It doesn't matter if they use space fucking lasers. It's just irrelevant. And that's what we're getting here. We're just getting people going way, 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 way off the subject onto the completely irrelevant. And not a single person who's on any of those Madeleine McCann forums, because I've looked up a few of them, some of them are Portuguese or they can speak Portuguese, and I've said to them, right, well, have you ever actually read the kind of the claim against Goncalo Amaral? Because you know these things called the JP files, lots of people know all about them, allegedly. They're probably just lying. They probably haven't even read them. Fucking. And then what's the point of reading them? I mean, really, what's the point? Once you realise the whole thing's a scam, there's no point in reading any of it. But the point is, it's like none of them ever read what the alleged allegations of libel were, or what the court held. You know, when the judge gives a judgment, they sort of say, right, well, you are guilty of this, or you're going to have to pay them some money, or we find, you know, against you. They'll say why. So why the fuck, when they're going on about this every day of their entire life, because they're paid in for disinformation agents, most of them. There's also a lot of, the main ones, but there's also a lot of other people who are spending a lot of time, generally only just reading things and putting in comments like lol and stuff, but LOL and stuff like that, because they're just retards and they think it's intellectual to just comment on everything without actually reading anything themselves, just taking third and fourth and fifth hand information. And you see, if you think about it, why hasn't any of them read these? The judgment in Portuguese, translated. The Portuguese, the JPJ files, or whatever they're called, they've been translated. They read the Kate McCann book, they read the Goncalo Amaral book, but they don't read what the actual libel was meant to be about. There was no libel. There couldn't be any libel because he didn't do any libel. That's obvious. You don't even have to look into it to know that. So why is it that that isn't available? Why hasn't that been pushed out all about the place? Because most people are so incredibly lazy and useless that the fact is they like conspiratainment. They like space beams. They like little green men. And they like these kind of stories that say somebody was born a man and now is being portrayed as a woman and stuff like that. Well, maybe they are. But they just love that kind of shit. And is the world flat all round? Well, frankly, they don't know, do they? I don't know. Was that person born a man and now's a woman? I don't know. I'm not going to go around telling everybody. I just don't see what the relevance of it is. I mean, I understand it's sometimes interesting to sort of ponder these things. Everything can be interesting, but they just spend their entire time thinking about it. And none of them will ever do the simple thing. So, with the Madeleine McCann case, no one will ever look up the libel. What was the libel? And also, how can he get found, if you like, guilty of the libel, and then found on appeal to be not guilty of libel? What did it hinge on? It didn't hinge on anything because the whole thing's fucking made up. But then again, there might have been a sham case. We know they like to do sham cases. But anyway, this thing here, I don't know. I don't really get what's happening because you've got this thing, the shocking afterlife interview. Yeah, it's in very, very bad taste because a lot of people think there was a little girl. 99.9% of people think there's a little girl. That's their problem. But you don't wind them up because of what she'd be now. What should be 10 or something? Well, 10, 14 wouldn't she be? Because she was 4 when she got missing, or 3. And then they're going round trying to make a mockery of it. It's absolutely disgusting. But it doesn't make sense to me because we know that McCann Phase 2 is all about pushing the anti-McCann narrative to just gain as much hatred and energy off the public, misdirectioned hatred, apart from, you know, to where the hatred should be going, or the... Well, I don't really know. I wouldn't really call it hatred, but with the McCann thing, they are trying to generate hatred. So people who wouldn't normally really hate anyone or anything, or not for like prolonged periods of time, they've managed to keep them in this hate-filled, low vibrational state. I'm sounding a bit like David Icke, but that is what they're like. You know, they're not doing themselves any favours in this state. they'll be very depressed, and instead of actually channeling their, if you like, hatred to something, like an actual thing that they could change, get the hatred out and then they'd be back to normal. They can't, because Madeleine McCann doesn't exist. And what will happen is McCann Phase 2, as it gets pushed, Katie Tomlin is the main person I think will be pushing it. Or that was the plan. But I think I've mentioned her on Twitter and I've talked to her on Twitter, so I don't think she's ever got back to me. But the thing is, she obviously reads all her Twitter, all little minions will read it. So they know, once they know I want them, they know it's pretty much all over. And I think with Richard D. Hall, even though I quite like his stuff, so I kind of a little bit apprehensive about just naming him and saying what a complete disinformation agent it is. But he's actually very good at it. I actually quite admire it, and he actually puts out interesting content, and you do learn stuff from it. Like, I mean, that thing with that Hyatt guy, Peter Hyatt, I must have watched that about five times. It was very good. Completely trying to fuck me over, lying to me, I know they are, but the actual content was still very good. So, I don't want Richard Hall to stop making documentaries. That would be very upsetting in a way, because they're actually quite good. And fair enough, there's the boring ones about like space aliens, and stuff, and occasionally get some scumbag on to just lie to you. But then he has to do that, and of course, if he didn't do that, he wouldn't be allowed to make any more documentaries, would he? Because the government never makes documentaries about anything that's productive on purpose. They just sometimes incidentally do it, don't they? So I don't want Richard Hall to stop making stuff, and if too many people start slagging him off and naming him and shaming him, that's what will unfortunately happen. Yeah. So anyway, I've been Tom Cahill. I don't understand how they can be doing this thing here. How can they be saying that these people are nutters who don't like, in any way, don't like the McCann thing? Again, like yesterday, they're basically making a university course saying that people who don't like Madeleine McCann's parents or whatever are completely insane, and probably saying they should be committed to mental asylums. That's the kind of thing they're coming out with. But at the same time, the government is actually going to drive all the McCann haters eventually, so that there'll be like so many people absolutely wanting to kill them. So many people, it will eventually be more than 50% of the population. So what are they trying to... That university course thing seems to be kind of like, you've got two operations that kind of clash into each other, because they can't both go ahead, can they? They'll have to drop that off the course syllabus, and like I said, that guy's committed kind of social and career suicide, and whatever type of other non-physical suicide you can, by putting up that absolute tosh. Yeah, so anyway, I've been Tom Cahill. It's 15:56 on Sunday the 7th of May 2017. I'd be very interested to know what you think, because this one I don't know how it's going to go. And I haven't had time to process it to see if there's some kind of clever little trick going on. Okay, thanks very much.